Good evening and welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm Rick Morelli. Well, it's that time of the year inside the schools where a lot of challenges are taking place. PSSA scores, changes in administrators and everything else. Well, here tonight we're going to be talking with someone who certainly has a lot of experience dealing with the education inside the Hazleton Area School District. Our guest tonight is the former Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Deb Carr, and she's here to talk to us about a lot of the challenges and changes going on inside the Hazleton Area School District as well as throughout the state. Also joining us tonight is someone who's no stranger to SSP TV, our own Jeannine Mazurkiwecz, filling in for Dr. Dave Sosar and Mike DeCosmo. Ladies, good evening. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Rick.
Good to see you too, Rick. Thank you.
We appreciate you joining us here. And again, as I said, former Director of Curriculum and Instruction, you're now moved on and you are a professor at King's College, as well as yourself too, Jeannine, both of you.
So yes, we have more in common now, Dr. Deb and myself. Teach on the same night, Wednesday nights.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, congratulations to both of you. But, you know, let's talk about some of the challenges in education. As I just mentioned, right now as we speak, PSSAs are going on inside the school districts. We know the stress that goes upon the teachers, administrators, the kids, et cetera. What do you see are some of the major challenges, not just with PSSAs, but within our school district?
Well, you know, obviously the challenge is meeting those high standards that are there and encouraging everyone to work hard and take education seriously. Mm-hmm. You know, our school district, very dear to my heart, and I wish the best to Dr. Antonelli and Mr. Basic. I certainly respect them as managers and instructional leaders and visionary thinkers. So they've got the work cut out for them. And I think the district overall has to look at communication, collaboration, consistency, and really their capacity building, you know, for the district. Yeah.
Well, and again, I agree with you. Congratulations to Dr. Anselli and Mr. Basic. I've had the opportunity to work with both of them, and I think they are two true leaders, and they'll do the right thing with the district. And again, our district is very challenging. It continues to grow. Diversity issues. We have people coming in with non-speaking English and non-English speaking students, I should say, and it's a big challenge, and it's very hard to compare our school districts to other school districts. And I think that was one thing I saw when I was on the board with comparing us to Crestwood. Your thoughts on that?
Well, that's been the eternal discussion every time any kind of test score comes out. Who do we compare ourselves to? And you know, Dr. Anthony will always talk about the value-added piece and how have students grown step by step by step. You know, and Hazleton's at a juncture right now where they need to make some decisions about going forward and how they'll build that capacity from within with the leaders that are there. Yeah. You know, we're on the start of the magnet school. I think is exciting.
Yeah. Well, and again, that is something that I think is the hottest topic going on, and it's the biggest change, I should say, inside the school district. The school district is going upon a major rebuilding. They purchased Hayfie, they purchased the Can Do building, and they're moving on with this magnet school, and that's new. I don't think anyone really understands what it is as well as what it's going to mean, and I think there's some pros and cons out there. And Jeannine, you get around, you hear and talk to parents and so forth. Well, what are you hearing regarding the magnet school?
Well, just to reiterate what Dr. Deb said about the communication between the district and as an educator myself now and working with the Hazleton Area School District, I'm proud to say with this administration that it has been very transparent. News 13 has called and asked for answers to questions about crime, about fighting, about issues that not a lot of people want to talk about, but the public needs to know about it, and they've been very fair and transparent with us. So again, with that communication from administrators to faculty, staff, but also for taxpayers and also as a parent. So with the magnet school, I think a lot of parents, you know, when something's new, people are either very excited or very frustrated. You get two ends of the spectrum, and I think we're seeing both of that. I say stick to facts, not rumor. So again, where are we with the magnet school, as in, will it segregate students? Will it be a good educational choice for my child? Again, safety issues with busing. For taxpayers, what is the expense going to be for something like that? So this is all things that people are thinking now. If you have a child that is young, as I do, you're still looking ahead to, am I going to send my child to public school? Are the schools safe enough? What kind of education would my child get if looking at all these changes? So those are some of the questions. As you know, as talking with many, many parents over the years, you have that experience of 30-some years dealing with not only the administrators, but parents could be the biggest critics because those are the children they're worried about.
And it's any change in education. Think about it as trying to go down the Schuylkill Expressway and change a flat tire. That you never get the luxury of, okay, let's totally plan this out before we start.
Yeah.
It's decisions are made, the funding is there. Boom, boom, boom. You've got to get it going within a couple of months, and that's where that consistency, communication, and getting the facts out. Don't believe the rumors. Go to the meetings, check the websites, and I think you'll see a lot of those pieces fall in place as the budget process goes through, and that when they do name who is the vice principal, that will be part of that whole magnet school initiative.
I mean, we'll continue to talk about the magnet schools as we go on, but what do you think could be some of the changes, some of the things that the parents need to do more of, the administrators need to do more of, school board members need to do more of, or less of? What are your thoughts regarding those things?
Rick, you said it with the challenges. No one understands those challenges until you walk a day in the schools and see what it's like and what they have to deal with. I was real impressed on Sunday night 60 Minutes with khanacademy.org, and it's a website that you can go to for background information and understanding concepts. In fact, they were talking about flipping school, so that students would go home on their computers at night and learn the concept, watch the explanation videos, and then come in the next day and do what we would typically think of as homework. But the teachers would be the coaches. And actually I look at that as being harder and more challenging for teachers, because truly individualization. And I think that's what they're going to be striving for with that magnet school. And
I love that idea. I love that idea because as a parent, if you're not, and we talked about this off camera, if you're a parent and you're not in education, you might come home and have all these questions about, is my child doing as much as they can in school? Am I doing enough as a parent at home? Again, this would give you some options as to, I want to be told, here's what you need to do so that your child can do better in school or to the best of their ability.
And this website is helpful for that because it's supported by the Gates Foundation, but also the National Core, and the information on that is available on the website on what exactly do students need to know. And I'll tell you, as the work that I've been reading about the National Core is literacy is the connecting piece.
Read more.
We can't say that enough. Opportunities to read, and whether you're reading on the book or the Nook, it's a matter of getting that information.
Well, and again, we all know that technology is changing, and in order to be up with everything, you have to be up with the technology. Now, the school district has moved on different fronts with technology. I remember when I was on the board, a good friend of mine, a former school teacher of mine, Danny Fornataro, who was in the district for years, and you would think a lot of these older teachers, and Mr. Fornataro, but who taught their ways. He was teaching with a program where you had your students where you would be able to track which students were ahead, which ones were behind, and I found that to be fascinating. And so an example like that, is the Hazleton Area School District on track with technology? And again, we'll talk a little bit about the budgets and where the money's being spent there.
Oh, I think we've made some major investments in our district. If you watch it, there's the opportunities for teachers to make decisions, diagnostic decisions about student instruction, and we've worked hard. It's trying to stay in the forefront with technology, and it takes money, it takes investment. I've been very impressed with Ken Briggs, as a leader in technology, and I think he will help consolidate and lead some of the decision makings if the leadership allows him to.
Yeah, and again, we talk often on the show about budgets. I've been doing it with the county as well as when the school district and everywhere else. And obviously, when we went to budget time with the school district, there were times education got cut. And I don't think that the public would mind if their taxes were raised knowing where the money is being spent. I think the public always gets upset when their money is being wasted. But if the school district could come out and say, listen, we're investing your money and we need to upgrade, to give this kind of educate this type of technology to help education, I think the public could support that. And I guess that will come down to going back to this magnet school. Will this technology be implemented in that magnet school versus will the high school be left behind? And those are some of the challenges that they're going to be.
Teachers and parents both need, it's going to be a give and take, being open-minded on both sides, learning on both sides. You have the parent who might know more about technology, a younger parent or a student might know more about technology than the instructors and the teachers, so they need to be educated on that. On the other hand, it's the parent and students who need to roll into learning about the magnet school, learning about a new way of transitioning into your day is going to be different if you're at the magnet school and how that day is going to play out.
We also have the consideration of equity, because you want to make sure that all students in the Hastings area school district have equal opportunities, to advance or equal access to the technology. And I know that's something that's been a discussion in the forefront. Look at the educational programs that we've had to cut back on. I think, instructional support teachers have been a huge loss for this district, and it's been a struggle with supporting the students who need some extra help and doing the preliminary testing that needs to happen.
And that Khan Academy concept might help with that, because parents doing more at home for their child can help offset those costs.
The other piece of that is, the students are watching the introduction. It's not that their parents have to explain it with them. So the teacher's role is more enhanced, coming to school the next day and being the coach of that learning.
I want to ask you a question, and I would not be able to ask you this question if you were still an employee of the school district, but now that you're not.
Now the real questions come out. We wait a little bit through the show, then we just bang.
Well, you always have to worry about repercussions of people who say things, and then obviously we've seen things in the district. But the fact is, dealing with school boards, okay, and education. We know the role of the school board or what the role should be. What are your thoughts regarding school board members as their involvement, what their involvement should be, shouldn't be, and what have your experiences been in the past for those years?
Rick, long ago, one of an administrator here, Jack Gallagher, gave me some advice. And he said, Deb, school directors and superintendents are going to come and go. And one of the things that you absolutely need to keep doing is just keep focusing on your job. And, I think, for this district, I would wish that there would be a strong alliance of trust and respect between the administrators and the school board. And part of the superintendent's role is to build that trust and respect, and that we've got an opportunity for that to happen. It was always disconcerting for me when a school director would call and ask me a question or ask the superintendent a question, and we would give an answer, and then next thing you know, that school director was calling the Department of Ed. And not that they can't call the Department of Ed directly, but it was always my thought was, I'm going to give you the same answer. I said consistency is important. I will tell you what I know. If you find out something differently, then let me know. It doesn't have to be a power play at a meeting.
And we should be on the same team.
We
We're
should
in
be on
the
the
same
same team.
district.
Yeah, and that's, unfortunately sometimes, and you've been there, you've seen it, I've sat through a lot of them, and we need to come together and make decisions for what's important for the students, and not that I can one-up you or one-up you and get 5 votes here and 4 votes there, or all 9 on a particular issue. That's the frustrating part. I encourage school directors to become educated. I encourage them to talk to the administrators and find out, what are the answers, what are the issues. There are often different versions. There's that grocery store version that you hear in the conversations where people maybe only have part of the answer.
If that.
And the
If
questions.
part of the answer.
I actually wish, in my tenure, I wish more school directors had called to ask me the questions, because I certainly would have given them, the answers. I think you and I worked, a lot together, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And school boards are set up for this 5-4, and that's what often happens.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely one of the challenges with government and the process where you have board members, and I think we've seen it, you have some board members who may overstep and want to do more than their role, where, again, board members are not, for the most part, educators. I mean, you got some former educators, but again, that's even a challenge too. I have some friends who are former educators, I'll admit, but there's a pro con to that. Sometimes you have to change your role. When you go to school board, you're no longer an educator, and you have to change your mindset and be a little bit more broad-based versus, well, this is the way it should be when I was in there, and I think that's something to be.
It's interesting, in my coursework at Lehigh, when I was studying for my superintendent's letter, one of the things they said is that the worst school directors are former educators. And I don't necessarily believe that, because I've seen some really good educators be great school directors, but it was actually a part of a lesson.
Interesting stuff, But let's take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Inside Scoop. We're here with Dr. Deb Carr. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Scoop. We're here with Dr. Deb Carr and my co-host for the evening, Jeannine Mazurkiwecz. Let's talk about college, the transition from high school to college. Let's talk about...
For Dr. Deb first of
Dr.
all,
Deb
because
first.
she was in high school and now she's in college, right?
You know, it's been a transition for me. I'm leveled as an assistant professor of education, and I've had to learn a whole new language and a whole new structure, so it's been quite a learning curve. And actually, one of the best nights was running into Jeannine and seeing a familiar face up there on campus. But I have to say that the King's faculty and the students have made me feel so welcome.
Yeah.
It's been a gift.
Well,
just
you know,
being there.
King's College is a great college. Yourself, Dr. Dave Sosar, teaches
Right.
there as
We're
well.
all teaching at King's.
Exactly. But what are some of the things you're seeing in with the students out there?
On my level, I'm more of I think I could speak more on the technology level. I think students are grasping quickly, especially in the field of communications, when you're asking them to do projects or look to perform activities. They are very quick at learning on the technology end. On the other side, it's the worlds of, okay, a little bit naive on, I'm going to get a job right out of college, because right now when I'm trying to teach them, looking at the economy and what are you going to offer as far as those soft skills, not only knowing what their major is all about, but teaching them the value of knowing those soft skills of persistence, dedication, positive attitude, role modeling, right? Volunteerism, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I teach at the graduate level, so I'm in the master's in education program and in curriculum and for ESL. And really what I'm seeing is school districts are cutting back. You've got teachers who are losing their jobs and need to be more marketable. So, Mr. Basic and I have reviewed hundreds and hundreds of elementary applications. Wow. So I say to my students, what separates you from those 500-600 elementary certified teachers? And we've got a great program at King's for the reading specialist certification and for an ESL certificate. And I think it's using the technology that's a piece of it, but it's also being job marketable and being smart about where you look and how you look. We have to offer our courses at King's in a blended format, so that some are online, some are face-to-face, and there's a lot of weekend courses now.
I was just having this conversation with a gentleman last night, and we're talking about education. When you take a look at, in the past, years ago, you came out with an education of something, and that's what you did. And
right.
The world's changing. What you come out with today may not be what you're doing 15, 20 years from now. And one of the challenges I'm seeing, and everyone is the cost of education. You go to King's, and I'm not sure what it costs, but it's obviously less than, I was talking to this gentleman last night whose grandson is going to Boston University, where they're paying $50,000 a year. And so the question is, what kind of education, what's the difference of education going Boston University versus King's, other than maybe a name that's on your diploma, and also having to factor in the amount of debt that you're going to have to pay off for that education? And again, going back to what I said before, having a degree in something that maybe 15, 20 years down the road, you may not even be using that degree. What are your thoughts with education?
King's has their pulse on education. We have to say, it's like so. It's just going to the school and walking around and talking and seeing the communication between administrators, and you say keeping that line of communication open, letting everyone do their jobs, and I know that King's does that. And we have Father Ryan, who is just remarkable.
Oh,
all of our department heads work together.
There's such a sense of community on the King's campus. I think no matter what level you're there, and the other piece is they truly live their Holy Cross model, and they are looking at teaching their students how to make a living, but also how to make a life as well. And you can get great educations everywhere, and you can have students who don't show up to class. It's what you make it, and what can your family afford? And I know King's has worked very hard at keeping a college education affordable. Parents look at state universities a lot, and if you balance all of the financial need out, you can often go to King's for the same price as you can for.
And King's is also a growing school. When I graduated in '97, and we still had the street between the buildings. Now it is a campus setting. We've purchased more property. We're building. We're putting up a new center. We have a new recreation center going up. So there's a lot of exciting. It's a growing college as well.
Well, and again, that's certainly a challenge for parents out there who want to put their kids to colleges, and one of the things they're looking at are the expenses. But we do have a lot of very good universities around here, colleges that people should take advantage of. One of the things I want to segue to, and I want to talk to you about, Deb, is you're also very involved in the communities over in Freeland with the YMCA, and often we have people on our show here from the communities, and we talk about all the changes. What's taking place over in Freeland that you'd like to share with us?
Well, you know, Freeland has lost its high schools over the years, and it's lost its consolidation with the churches. And one thing we don't want to lose is our Freeland YMCA.
And they're losing their magistrate as well.
That's right. We're losing our magistrate office, and the Freeland Y really is a community center for that whole town. And the numbers of kids who go through that on a regular basis. Just over the last 2 weekends, Joe Flanagan ran a tournament. He had 41 teams. They had to branch out into 3 sites to accommodate them, and there were over 73 games.
That's awesome.
But the Freeland Rotary jumped in and met with the board of directors and talked about, you know, shoring up the future for Freeland and for the Y, because that building is 89 years old.
Yeah.
The Y's been in Freeland for about 113 years. So when you talk about a classic and you want to compare communities, and you grew up in a small town as well, that it means the world to those kids. And you just stop by the Y anytime. It's loaded. It's loaded with basketball games and kids coming together.
And you talk about keeping kids off the streets. These are the programs that keep our kids into positive, proactive events that are keeping them off the streets and dealing with getting involved in the wrong crowd, in the drugs, in the gangs. Sure. So we need to keep our, as you said, our small communities. And not a lot of people know, but I mean, you grew up in Freeland, you went to school at Freeland, you taught in Freeland, and it's nice to see that you're stay true to your hometown.
Well, you know, we all need to volunteer and give what we can back, give back to our communities. And Freeland has always been special to me. I mean, I've been on this board for 30 years now, and I've seen a lot. It's nice to see the students that I've taught or coached be involved with their own kids or volunteering as biddy coaches. And
yeah. Well, I will say this: Freeland is one of those communities that still has that community feeling, which is great. You know, we see a lot of communities around here changing, good and bad. And you know, I go over to the St. Patty's Day parade in the party every year, and you really get that sense of community over there. And it is important to keep that. And it's something that sometimes you don't appreciate, but they still have that over there, as well as some other areas around here as well.
Well, and you know, you look at the Cougar basketball teams and softball and baseball teams over the years, and you'll see some Freeland kids. Yep. You know, we got Tyler now, the Biazzi kiddos, and Adam Haas's son. Yeah. And you know, we can go. We'd like to track down all those players and all of their parents who played for Freeland High School, so we can plan some great happenings to celebrate the Freeland Y. And to really, you know, to shore up the walls and renovate, we're looking at close to $300,000.
So what else could the community do to help out, to get involved?
Well, they could email Joe Flanagan at freelandymca@verizon.net, and certainly we're doing donations. We've been doing quite well, and now we're ready to start the foot campaign and reach out to prospective supporters and people who benefited from the Y. Yeah. We're looking to, you know, give back, help us help the future of Freeland, because one thing we don't want to lose is the Freeland Y, and we can control that by our involvement, by volunteering, and by the monetary support. Yeah.
And Jeannine, you hit it right on the head. It's not just about community, but it's getting the kids involved and getting them off the streets and having something. That's one of our biggest challenges around here.
Sure. And I think we always agree on the issue of sports and how that ties into academics. I mean, when you're in sports, you're disciplined. You have to work as a team. You have to keep good grades. So it's important that our athletic department is well up on keeping these kids involved in sports, keeping them active, keeping them healthy. That's being well-rounded.
You hit one of my pet peeves. One of the things I always fought for when I was on the school board was getting involved with athletics, and there were people who challenged and said, "Oh, it's sports," and they made it seem like it's a game, but you hit it right on the head. It's not. It's part of education, and it really develops kids in so many different ways that you just can't get in the classroom. And it is something that I'm an advocate for, and I hope to see. I love seeing stuff like this because it's great for not only the communities but for the kids at the end.
Well, we appreciate that. Stop by sometime.
I definitely will. Again, Freeland's a great place. You're a great lady, and I really appreciate both of you coming here tonight. Now, does this mean I get a chance to go on the girls?
I was going to say we're going to have you on the girls, and we're going to have to bring you up to Kings.
I don't know about that.
Get him teaching up there with us.
We'll see. But again, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and again, best of luck with everything. And I want to thank you for joining us here on Inside Scoop. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great evening.